Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. It's episode 99. We're here to talk about Tenet. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Hey, guys, this is Prague.
We live in a twilight world. This is the Lorian Wolfgang.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what you just said right there, but okay. That was very
live
interesting.
in a world full of vampires. And
that's what you said. Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah, we're talking Tenet this evening. Where do we even start with something as wild as this?
Well, at the end, right? Of course.
Yeah, yes.
Of course.
So we just start with spoilers.
We're just going to spoil it right now. Sorry. Spoiler warning this week. So at the end, everyone dies.
What?
No, just kidding. Joking.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert. I didn't watch the movie.
Excellent. That's what you call preparation.
Preparation H.
Maybe you'll watch it by the end of the episode.
My God. Inception, baby.
True.
So if you're not familiar at home of what Tenet is, it's Christopher Nolan's latest film. And it came out during the pandemic. They pretty much released it in theaters last July. And they're like, whatever. And so now it's on HBO Max. So if you didn't want to go to the theaters last July or anything like that, you can just watch it from the comfort of your home, whether you're vaccinated or not. You can just put on HBO Max. So that's what we did. And now we get to talk about it to everyone.
Now, didn't Christopher Nolan have like he was pissed that he didn't want it to go to streaming services? He wanted this to go straight to theaters. Didn't matter if there was a worldwide pandemic or not.
Of course. Yeah, he's a cinema purist. He's somebody who really fights for, the accurate representation of the medium. So he fought really hard and he got what he wanted, but probably lost a lot of money because of it.
I'm imagining the gif of the little girl on the floor kicking and
It is. I mean, I understand where he's coming from because I like cinema and I do like the big screen, but I wasn't going to go out unvaccinated into a crowded movie theater if there was one. So I don't know. I mean, he should have read the room and be like, you know what? This time I get it. People aren't going to go to a theater. Charge them at home or something a little bit extra. He didn't want to do that.
Well, I tell you what, man, I may not have watched the movie, but I did do a little bit of research and I listened to podcasts and stuff. And it seems everybody came to San Diego to watch that movie because I guess there was like 2 movie theaters in like all of California that were open for Tenet, and they were both in San Diego. And I'm like, no, stay out of my town.
No, get out of here.
Keep your COVID self in your own town.
Yeah, there's a lot of fans of his that are pretty rabid, and I think that a lot of them are purists like him. And yeah, I'm sure they sought out whatever theater they could find closest to them and trekked to it.
Scorsese's kind of one of them.
My takeaway from this movie is I'm watching it and I'm like, this is actually rare where everything isn't CGI or they're greening and they actually go to locations to film. And you can tell instantly that they're actually on location in these beautiful places capturing these amazing shots because he's a purist and he also cares about camera work. And It's so sad that it's rare to go to the theaters and see something as simple as on location filming or not CGI explosions and stuff and just actually do practical effects. You're like, this movie stands out for the most basic movie production.
I know, it's as basic as you get. Why doesn't anyone else get this? It boggles my mind, honestly. Yeah, that's a good point.
And that was one of the things that I was looking at in the on like the YouTube videos that I watched is, the explosions look fantastic. I mean, I was looking at them and I'm going, man, they really put some time and detail into the CGI on this, and then finding out it wasn't. That's incredible to me.
Yeah. No, he's committed to the craft, and it's appreciated. Sometimes almost too much, like it's kind of obsessive, I think, in his films. Like his films always run way too long. Like no matter how much I love his movies, and I do, they're always like about 45 minutes too long. Which is fun.
Was this movie one of those situations?
Oh yeah. I would say that there's probably a good half an hour to 45 minutes he could have trimmed down in parts, and especially during the first half, because the second half is just, in my opinion, is great. I really enjoyed the second half more than the first half. But that's also because I didn't quite understand what was happening. as much.
And that
Because it's
kind of
very
seems the
confusing movie.
consensus with people.
So
Like,
I think it's
nobody knew what was going on.
Like the moments where he really shines are those moments, those location moments, those action scenes, the explosions, the timey-wimey stuff he does with the backward inversion techniques. Like those scenes are just really mesmerizing and fantastic and well done. But then you have like all these like long drawn out like dramatic scenes that don't really do much. They kind of give you the plot details, but like then they just linger for a while. And it's kind of like, well, if he'd trimmed that more, this would have been a really solid like action movie. And it wasn't. It was kind of like half action, half like slow drama. So
do we want to do spoiler-free reviews?
I guess that was my spoiler-free review.
Okay.
A great movie that was just kind of bloated. That's all.
Yeah, for me, I found that, like I said, you take some things for granted. It's nice to see, but just the idea that it was tense throughout a lot. Like, I understand it's a kind of high concept idea, but at the very basic, it's a heist movie. And Christopher Nolan, he's done, like, I'm going to do this style of movie. I'm going to do a space movie, and I'm going to do a war movie, and then I'm going to do a superhero movie. So this was his heist movie. And he does that extremely well. To Prague's point, the ability to have something play simultaneously where he's rewinding time of an explosion, but everyone's running forward, and to overlay those two film royals on top of each other, that's impressive camera work, and that's just awesome to witness. And then there's just these sequences where people, like, the sound mixing and editing is absolutely the worst possible thing. Like, I read an article back last July, and Christopher Nolan's like, oh, if you can't hear it, that's by design. Okay, no, that's terrible design. There's just so many sequences where there's a lot to unpack, and you have no idea what they said. I rewinded it. I think I need to rewatch this movie with subtitles on, like I'm watching Dark at this point.
Like the boat scene, it's like you have the water, the noise of the boat, and they're yelling in a calm. And you're like, well, I have no idea.
I mean, part of it is like, I understand it's because we have this whole inverted time sequence and time messes with audio distortion and all that. I get that. But from
not in all those scenes,
a technical aspect, that's neat. From a consumer sitting on my couch, it's not an enjoyable experience.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a good point.
Because there's a lot of sequences where they come up with like new terms because they have to explain what's going on. And then they'll say something to John David Washington, and he's like, oh, you mean this? And he'll talk for like a minute straight explaining the term that the audience doesn't know, just to hand-hold the audience through. Like, Christopher Nolan doesn't usually do that, but for some reason, he had to be very hand-holding because the concept, like, I get the idea of the movie, okay? There's little intricacies I miss, but the core concept isn't super over my head or anything.
Right.
Gnarly.
That was my only drawback. Because the action sequences are absolutely amazing. All the camera work and everything is outstanding, but the sound just drags it down. And then the dialogue, it has really good tight sequences where it's rapid back and forth, and then there's these long drawn out explanation sequences.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what he could have trimmed. He's like, we didn't need that. You can show, don't tell.
You're good enough. Christopher Nolan usually leaves ambiguity, and he did not at all in this. There's no.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, oh, this is it. They're not going to tell us. Twist. Oh no, they did. They told us everything. That was weird. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. That's fine. All right. Maybe that was the twist. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it seems like there's some cool things visually. And here's the thing, like I'm reminding the audience here, I'm going to handhold our own audience. I didn't watch the movie. But I mean, from what I saw in the bits and clips on YouTube, it's visually beautiful. I didn't get the whole audio thing. Obviously, I couldn't get that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about it, and maybe you guys will talk me into actually sitting down for the next 2.5 hours to watch it. It is a time
investment. Yeah,
it is a time investment. And when you've got an 8-month-old, it's kind of tough. I thought that I could make that. Anyways, we're not going to get into that. What we are going to get into is our socials. So make sure to go over to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. What am I? Twitter. Twitter's kind of our main one. Go over to all the social media channels. like, subscribe. This is all at Secondary Heroes. And since you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. I tell you what, if another YouTuber tells me to smash a button, I'm just going to delete the person. I don't want to be told to smash anything anymore. So just
tickle it.
Tickle it. Give it a little tickle. So hit that subscribe. Go over to iTunes and rate and review our podcast, because that actually gives more eyes and ears on our podcast, because, hey, we want to be heard and seen. And maybe even a thumbs up, because those thumbs downs, they hurt our feelings sometimes. That we know when they're needed. Anyways, am I missing anything, boys?
Cross the Streams Media.
Oh, that's right. You can do just about everything that I said all at crossthestreamsmedia.com. Or is it .net? No, it's a .com. Pretty sure. They sprung for the big bucks on this one. They went with .com. And you can check them out over on Twitter at CTS Media. And yeah, you get to see some of the other you get to see some of the other podcasts that are along the lines of Dorksmen, the Four Dorksmen. Who else is there? There's Burt Reynolds. There's the Dan Aykroyd. Yes.
3 beers and a mic.
3 beers and a mic. That's
the movie
right.
Cat.
We had Dwayne recently on our podcast, which I thought was a pretty good show. So yeah, check all those guys out. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of them too. Cool. I think that's it. All this is free for you and priceless to us.
And now the reason
stuff that isn't
all
free
those socials is because we're leading up to episode 100. That's actually next week. If you can keep track, this is episode 99. So next Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, live on twitch.tv/Secondary Heroes, we're going to have episode 100 super spectacular, where we're going to have fun, prizes, giveaways, memories, special guests, all kinds of stuff. We're even going to launch some new merch. I don't know what that could be. So stay tuned and join us. Ooh.
Whoa,
spoiler. Hopefully YouTube video peeps get to see that fun tidbit.
You might want to... Hold on.
I just flashed the camera.
Time and make sure that didn't happen?
Oh, yeah, that's
Please
true.
frame it. It's an Easter egg. It might pay off down the road like Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Sir. Woo! Okay,
so
so
I think it's time to get into this.
Yeah, 10-10, Tenet. And so
10,
before we get too far with Tenet, if you've been listening to our show, whether it's Mandalorian or WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Justice League or all these different things we've done, we kind of go minute by minute breakdown. But we're going to change that. So now we're just going to focus on highlights, lowlights, and kind of randomly go through the whole movie, and
just like
we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, seriously, the minute by minutes, you guys already said there's a lot of long, drawn-out dialogue stuff. Let's cut it. We're cutting for time, baby. That's what we're doing.
And so my big takeaway for this movie is probably that Robert Pattinson is in it. And they have the fun catch line that we live in a Twilight world, which ties distinctly to him. And then Rob Pattinson's also going to be Batman, which Christopher Nolan made a wide name for himself with The Dark Knight. And then they have that whole sequence where they go to, I don't know what city it is in this, but it looks just like the Hong Kong sequence from Dark Knight. It's the same angles they shoot everything at. So Tenet has a lot of shout outs to past Christopher Nolan films. Oh, the way they shoot things, the way they go everywhere. Yeah.
And Mike O'Kane. He's in it too, and wasn't he he was in Batman as well?
Exactly.
Right. Oh my god.
Kenneth Branagh's in it. He's pretty big in Tenet, and he's in Dunkirk.
Oh jeez.
So there you go. It's all Inceptioned.
Everything is Inception.
God, what if all of this is Christopher Nolan's very own Inception?
Could be. It would make sense.
Making a universe.
It would.
See what you're doing.
It does.
Well,
they actually do that in the movie.
Yeah, it's a Tenet logo.
They did it several times.
Oh, did they really? Okay. Maybe I need to not talk in this episode.
No, it's fun. I like this. This is good. I will say before we really dive too deep into it, I wouldn't say this is going to be my favorite Nolan film, but I did enjoy it, and I really did enjoy the second half more than the first half. I just want to let that be known. So I do think it's worth watching, but don't expect it to be like one of his finest pieces, if that makes sense.
You're selling me, baby. Come on, hit me harder.
I wonder what you think his finest piece is.
I don't know. I would probably.
Do you mind if I jump in while you're thinking? Okay, yeah,
Sure.
go ahead.
No, I would say Inception. That might be a personal bias though, because I like dream and architecture stuff. So that's my go-to, and I really enjoyed how he did that. Especially the dream within a dream within a dream concept was really well done. So that would probably be my pick.
And that's something that I'm noticing a lot with Nolan, is that he likes to do a whole lot of mind-bending type of movies, and this seems like a really mind-bending, you really kind of got to think about it type of movie. Inception, mind-bending, you're going dream within a dream within a dream, and I could see how a lot of his films kind of would confuse people. And this movie here, would you guys? I've heard through other podcasts and whatever that this is kind of a confusing film. Is this something that's easy to follow along? Would the everyday person watch this and go, hey, this is pretty cool? Or, oh my God, what is going on?
It's a good question. I don't know if the everyday person will necessarily follow this movie. It is very confusing. He even himself, I remember when before the movie came out, he told his editor that this was going to be the most confusing thing they've ever had to edit, ever. Like, okay. Like, your movie's already as it is, and you're trying to make it confusing on purpose. Like,
for me, I would say that, Frog, you like the second half of the movie, and I think it's because the first half is so confusing. I think a lot of people might tune out, especially on HBO Max. At the movie theater, you're invested.
Leave, right?
But if you're watching it at home and your eyes start to gloss over because they're talking about various inverted time sequences that deal with, the changing energy through time and how it's nobody
like nuclear fission and stuff. Everyone's like, oh my God. Even I was like, all right, back to something else for a while they talk about this for 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, they tried to explain it away. And then they get to the point where don't try to understand it. One of the characters literally says that. And I was like, cool, good advice.
You should have told us that like 5 minutes into it. Where were you?
That's great.
So yes, that's a good point. If you can power through that first hour and a half, you'll be good.
Because the very opening is really tense. It's a whole like siege on this orchestra opera sequence, and there's boat fire, and there's like, okay, what's going on? There's this weird like slight sequence, and that all happens before we get the opening title where it says Tenet. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like fast paced throughout, and then it comes to a screeching halt, and it's a lot of walking around and flying to new locations to talk to new characters,
it's talking to everybody,
tell us a little bits and pieces about what's going on in this universe.
So this is, I actually turned, I wanted to try and watch this movie, so I actually turned the movie on and I watched that beginning sequence. And then I think I got to something happened that I had to turn it off. But I was like, man, if the whole movie is going to be like this is going to be rad. And I can't wait to see the rest. I'm so glad that you guys are talking me out of the first half of this movie.
I'm trying to think if it's even necessary to watch the first half. I'm really thinking back. I'm like, were there any plot points that I was given as a viewer that would matter? Even the idea of the forged painting or drawing, I don't think that really mattered to anything, really, other than her relationship to the bad guy. Sorry, there's one of the main characters is the wife of the bad guy who he's trying to help. So it's that plot point, I don't know if that was necessary for me to have to go into in such detail for so long in the first half of the movie. Just saying.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, so
cut through it.
So
unless you got something out of that, Trevor, maybe I was not paying enough attention to that detail.
I mean, it feels like during that sequence, it feels like there's constant need to pay attention. After the first 30 minutes, I paused it and I was like, I had to take a breather because I'm trying to decipher. They're just throwing everything at the audience person. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, because it's explained at the end of the movie.
Right.
I guess the little tidbits they reveal about how the time works at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, it's that guy. Or, oh, here's this little talisman that makes it all make sense. But those aren't key point. They're kind of glanced at things.
Right, exactly. And I don't know. I just don't see why they spend so much time on that stuff. I don't know. That's just me, though. I know, and the other thing too is like like you said, there's so much information. They also don't do smooth transitions. The editor just like cuts all the time. Like, oh, we're done with the scene. Bam, next scene. Like, oh my God, hold on, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck just happened there. And now we're in this other scene talking about nuclear physics and stuff. Oh my God, that was a little jarring. Though that's one of my nitpicks. The editing could have been better in places because the editing is great with the action, but not with like dialogue stuff. So.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just weird. It was a weird choice.
There was just a lot of classic Christopher Nolan things, like when they climb up the building, with the bungee thing. It's totally Inception.
It is. Yeah,
and the
it was like a best of.
Yeah, when they focus on John David Washington going through and kind of figuring out the time sequences of everything, it's a lot like Memento because he has no idea of this universe, and he has to kind of figure it out step by step.
That's exactly
he pieces
what
it all
I thought.
together.
At one point, I'm like, oh my God, is he going to be the villain of this too? Like, what is happening? Like, okay, good. He didn't do that at least.
Yeah.
So, I was literally thinking that. Like,
Memento might be my favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, that was actually a solid movie.
Oh my God.
It's one I haven't watched a lot in a while. Like, because I watched it a lot when I was younger, when it first came out, because it was really good. But then all of his other movies came out afterwards, so I tend to forget about that one sometimes. But
it's just tighter. It's not as bloated as some like Interstellar. I love the concept of it. I love kind of space idea and what happens, but it's a bloated movie.
So bloated. Yeah, another thing. He just bloats all of his movies now, which is
because
fine.
You got to take care of the dust crops. Got to make sure those are okay. Got to talk about that for a good hour. Talk about dust crops.
And it has nothing to do with the movie. Once again.
Yeah, right.
What's going on, Christopher?
Well, how did you guys feel about the acting in this movie?
I like the acting. I mean, the acting is always pretty good in his films. I never really have a problem with that. Robert Pattinson was great. John David Washington was great. I mean, they were kind of the two people on screen the whole time. Kenneth Branagh was a little bit over the top, as he usually is. Okay, he was pretty over the top, actually. That's fine. That's how he is. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I would say. Why have you heard otherwise?
No. I haven't heard otherwise, but it is kind of cool that Christopher Nolan knows how to bring somewhat of the best in most actors, and he can bring them out in his films, and I think that's pretty cool, and that's something that I look forward to seeing whenever I eventually watch this.
Nice. Yeah, I think it'd be a treat acting wise, at least. Yeah, I mean, I before this, I don't think I've seen Robert Pattinson in a dramatic role since Twilight, and even then, I only watched scenes from Twilight. I've never
actually watched Water for Elephants.
No,
I didn't watch Water for Elephants either, but the name it always cracks me up.
I have no idea. It's so funny.
Sandcastles in the sand.
Yeah. For chocolate.
Well, anyways. And it's very interesting.
He impressed me a lot. I really liked his character. I actually got emotional at the end, and we'll get there. We'll get to the end as well. But I was like, oh my God, that was really well done.
Do you feel like you're going to be able to see Robert Pattinson now, with now seeing this, see him as our future Batman?
Oh, for sure. I even like the way he looked in the previews for the new movie. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Cool.
I think he'll do a really good job. He does the whole moody thing there, and he also can be charming. So, if he can pull off both, that's what you need to be Bruce Wayne.
That's the tough thing is people either are a good Batman or they're a good Bruce Wayne.
Yes, very few are both.
So,
yeah, I think we'll be in good hands there. So,
cool.
And so after all these sequences, I do want to just point out a couple of things that stood out from the first half. First is when at the very beginning, when there's an explosion, they keep the shot on the two characters running away from the explosion. And so it's a continuous shot. Not many movies love to cut away from an explosion.
There's debris.
They filmed this explosion.
Almost hit them. I'm like, oh my God, that was impressive.
That was really impressive. And then the kitchen fight sequence with John David Washington, that was a great fight sequence because he had so much confidence in knowing that he was just going to dispose of these guys super easy. It was a really impressive fight sequence.
And it was tight too, because those corners in the kitchen.
It's all in,
Bam, bam.
Cheese grates the guy to the face. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Cheese grater to the face, man.
That was a good scene. He's a good action star.
Now, John David Washington, first time I saw this guy was in Ballers. Did you guys ever watch Ballers? Did you guys ever?
He's good in Ballers.
He's great.
I feel bad. I have not watched Ballers, and my buddy's in that show, and I should watch it.
The Rock? Amazing. I didn't know you were
wow.
This is an exclusive. We're going to have
get him
The
on
Rock
the show.
on the show.
Let me get him
people.
on the phone right now. I'll bring him up. No.
Rock, we're here to talk about Ballers. Remember that show you were on? Yeah, so I loved his character in Ballers because he was so dynamic, and to now see him in more serious roles. I know he was in the KKK movie,
the
Black Klansman. I really want to see that, and I hate that I haven't seen that yet. But I love seeing this guy everywhere he's at. I mean, every movie that he's been in, it's just people are saying that he is fantastic in it. So to see him come from a show like Ballers now to all this is very cool, and I'm very excited for him.
Yeah, very well done. Yeah,
Cool.
he plays definitely like the confident but not quite cocky kind of action star in a way. Like he's not going to be like the smooth James Bond. He's more like, this is kind of how I am, and I don't know, plays off pretty well. It was more dynamic,
Dig it.
vulnerable at times too, which is kind of fun for an action star. Usually it's like, oh, I'm an action star, I can do anything. And it's like, no, it's like, shoot, I might not be able to do this thing that I'm going to try to do. And he plays that well. So.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on from that.
Right. So now we get to the fun prepping for the heist, the first heist, where they're going to use the plane to crash into the facility where they're going to go and find this little time inverter thing. And so the fun part of this is the sheer size and power of the plane as it's running over cars and it's crashing through everything. Like they literally filmed a plane, like Fast and Furious or something would just CGI a plane going into this and it would be done. To actually film it, it's super impressive.
Yeah, this is
and they tossed the one guy out of the plane, and he actually tumbles.
Right, he tumbles.
That dude looked like he got messed up.
That was a good stunt guy.
Yeah.
I was like, what would I do if I had to jump out of a plane? I'd be like, no, what the heck? I grab onto the thing and hold on for dear life. But this is the first time in the movie where I went, wow, I wish I would have saw this in theaters on the big screen, because that moment was spectacular. That's what Nolan is great at those really big practical moments. Cinematic.
And I know that we have discussed this in the past in other episodes, is stunt work.
Or was it the future that we did that?
Oh, good Lord, you're inverting time. Don't do that, right? No, so I know we talk a lot about stunt work. And you guys have been mentioning fight scenes and jumping out of planes. I mean, how does it match up to a Falcon Winter Soldier? Or is it far superior?
I would say it's superior. I mean,
it shouldn't be mentioned in the same breath. But yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is a big budget movie, not a TV show as well. So
no,
but okay. I know
we're past that. Sorry, I didn't even mean to bring that up.
It's okay.
So speaking of choreography, though, right now we get into the fight sequence where John David Washington fights a guy all in like a black suit. He has a black mask on and everything. And one person is going forward in time and the other person is going backwards in time. And they're fighting it. So that's really impressive the way they shot it, filmed it, put it together.
Yeah, it's rare for me to like watch a movie and not know how things were done.
Yes.
Like usually I could be like, oh, I know how this got CG dyed in or whatever, or the stunt guy got moved in here. I don't know how he did those scenes in this movie. No idea. I don't know if I want to know.
I was actually watching the behind the scenes right before we got on here. No. I actually didn't. Because I had been seeing that scene over and over and over on YouTube, and I'm like, man, that is just absolutely beautiful. It is so amazing to see that. Mm-hmm. And I really want to know. So after this, I may go back on to YouTube and watch that behind the scenes of how to do that. But I guess the main character, our protagonist, his name is the protagonist in this movie.
Yes.
I guess he did a ton of training to physically be able to do a lot of these stunts. I mean, how do you teach yourself to move in reverse? You know what I mean?
And technically what you're doing is you're moving forward, but you have to do it in a way that you know they're going to be doing it in reverse, if that makes sense. Like you fight in a certain way. I don't know how they do it, but you gotta like think in terms of do the scene, knowing that you're gonna be reversing the footage. You know, you can't just fight.
It's so bonkers. No, of course. Yeah, it's bonkers. It's hard to wrap your head around, and that's probably why they had some. I imagine that they had some absolutely phenomenal stunt person come in who kind of mastered the look of reverse fighting, and I think that's. I mean, kudos to that guy.
Especially because they have long shots. Like the camera's at the end of the hallway, and they're going to show the whole hallway, as they come towards the camera. It's not just quick zoom in on their face, and then now we can move the camera.
Right. Man.
And they show that a couple of scenes from different angles too in the future past.
Yeah, they shot it differently. So this fight sequence later in the movie, we get to see it from the other perspective. So we see it from our normal, time dialogue, but then as time kind of inverts itself in the movie itself, we then get to see this exact fight played from a different camera angle.
And it's a great moment. It's like it's the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban moment where Hermione figures out that she's the one that threw the rock at herself moment. It's that aha, like, oh, she felt the back of her head, get hit. And she's like, wait a second, that was me that did that. That was a cool moment in this movie, for me at least. As soon as I saw him put on the mask, I went, oh, that's what we're doing.
Well, and so that all turns into time is just a loop. I mean, from what I'm hearing, in a way.
Time isn't a loop.
No, it can be if you use the machines. You time it right. But no, it's not a loop.
They are putting together some machine in this movie or something, or have we not gotten to that point yet?
Well, it doesn't matter. We're talking about Tenet all over the place.
We're not going in sequence, but they have a big centrifuge that you go in on one side and you come out the other side, and everything's inverted.
Wild.
It's like a chamber that you go into, and you have to like enter it properly, or else you might not come out properly. It's the whole thing.
And then when you do come out, we have a whole sequence where it's explained out that fire actually feels like ice. Your lungs can't breathe the air. Everything is inverted.
Everything.
The wind is actually at your back instead of at your face. Based on everything's flipped.
Because that's why he wears the mask to breathe the whole time.
Yeah.
If you've seen the trailers and the pictures.
Oh.
Because you can't breathe oxygen backwards. It's coming out of you. So you're.
Oh, that's so wild.
It's crazy.
Oh my god, that's so freaking cool, man.
It's just a lot of cool concepts, and if you just trimmed this down, it would have been a banger of an hour-and-a-half action movie.
Oh, neat. Okay, cool. Let's continue on because this is so fascinating right now.
And so we also have the fun Christopher Nolan, let me pump up the bass and use the biggest sounds for whatever it is. Like at one point, I thought Godzilla was going to show up.
I had no idea. That was an interesting music choices. I liked it. Some of them I liked a lot, and some of them were kind of awkward. Like you said, like just really loud.
They've got to have the foghorn in all of his movies.
Of course. They even have the foghorn in literally, there's a tugboat that went.
Oh my god! It was. How do you do?
Yep. That was good. All right. So what's next?
Well, we have one kind of point I did. So one point, there's John David Washington where he has to explain to the audience what's going on when they introduce a new term. But they also have that fun thing where they're walking and they're having a conversation. And then all of a sudden they're on a train and their conversation picks up without a hitch. But at least 5 or 10 minutes have passed. So did they just sit there?
Thank you. That's what I was talking about earlier. The editing during dialogue in this is so weird. I'm not too sure why they
just travel locations in the middle of the conversation. It's like we're talking and then we'll just stop. We gotta board the train and then we gotta find our seats and we'll continue exactly where we were.
We'll pick this conversation up in Monaco. Let's do that.
No, that's what it felt like. It was so weird. Like now it's night, son. You're still having the same conversation. What's happening right now?
That's the crazy thing. Like stuff like that, I feel like happens in TV shows all the time.
Well, it's like a CinemaSins thing to point out, but they did it on purpose in this movie.
He really did it on purpose.
Well, it seems like he was trying to disorient the audience a lot.
Mm-hmm. Sure, he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. This is Nolan being Nolan. Either like it or don't. I'd like it. I accept it. This is definitely his most bonkers.
You're
I just
so
like a movie
artsy.
that isn't so by the book and just laid out
That too.
exactly how. Yeah, I've just watched so many movies in a row where, okay, I've seen this kind of movie before with different actors and characters. It's nice to see something that's different. And again, I hate that it's rare.
I know, I hate that show too. It's like, thank you, Christopher Nolan's like just taking those, steps
Yeah,
to
you couldn't make this movie with if you don't attach Christopher Nolan's name to it. I'm sure
Right.
other
No one's
directors
gonna
could
watch it.
pull off something similar, but
Right.
no one would put the money in to produce it.
Well,
They wouldn't
you
take
know
a
why?
chance on it.
It's because we need to remake Gremlins.
Yeah.
We need to
Sure.
remake everything from the 80s. We can't
I know.
have original stuff anymore.
You do realize that that's the reason why he did Batman, was to get the gigs where he can do whatever he wants.
Yep.
He
That's
made it
great,
as
though.
awesome as possible. He said, see, I made you billions of dollars. Now let me do whatever I want. And they said, okay, you can make Inception now. And then he made billions of dollars on that. It's like, all right, you can continue doing it forever. I wish more directors could do that.
Well, let's just hope that, I know that you guys said that this was kind of a so-so movie. Great action, but so-so on some things. Hopefully this doesn't hurt his name in a way.
Nah, I don't think so.
People will only remember that it was different and
Right. It's
out
like,
of
oh, that
left
was
field
this
and
weird
stuff.
one. Right. That was like
Gotcha.
that one-off thing he did. That's fine. Let's go back to the next whatever concept he has. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think
There's
so.
also the fun point where Kenneth Branagh is saying that to the wife that if I can't have you, then I'm gonna kill you or whatever. All I could think of was the song "If I Can't Have You, I Don't Want Nobody, Baby." Like
If I can't
Wow.
have you, I don't want nobody, baby. Good song.
yeah, they should have
Still
played it in the
groovy.
Oh,
background.
now I'm gonna think about that if I ever watch this movie again. Can't have you. Okay, we don't want to be copyrighted for that, so I will not
Yes.
continue singing
Oh, shoot. Did I sing it way too long?
That's okay.
Hmm.
Okay, thanks. Thanks,
Fine.
Trevor.
it. No one. Yeah, you're fine.
There was no music tied to it. You can pull it up. And so
Okay.
now we get to the car chase sequence, and this car chase sequence is amazing because somebody had to actually, I'm sure they had to drive in reverse to pull this off. And to actually have the car crash in reverse, that was super cool. And as I'm watching it, I was like, this is kind of like Matrix 2, where they're on the
I was
freeway.
thinking Matrix.
Yeah, it's like Matrix 2. Yeah, it's like that scene in Matrix 2 with the twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Interesting.
Morpheus with the samurai sword.
So when I was watching the scene, I did that whole thing where I want to know how they filmed this. So I kept looking at the minivan that was going backwards, and I'm like, I wonder if they reversed it on the inside with the motor.
That's what
Like I think they put the motor in the trunk because I saw somebody sitting in the back
and then
seat. I'm like,
somebody's.
that's a
yeah.
person in the back seat. You just can't see it through the tinted windows. I think they had a driver driving forwards, technically, but looking like
That's
they were driving
cool.
backwards. But it was
Yeah.
still rad. That whole sequence phenomenal.
Mhm.
As I knew it would be from the trailers. I was like, I can't wait for this scene to happen. And then it did.
Yeah, right?
Then it happens again too, and the other way. And like, yeah, it's great.
And so when it does happen again the other way, we learn that who's driving the teal car, because there's a teal car that comes up in the middle of them. We're like, it's just
What was
conveniently
this random
placed here.
car that, like, yeah, like why is it just sitting there? Like, did something happen that we missed? Oh, it was our protagonist the whole time.
Yes.
That was
Oh, it's so fun.
What happens when you peel back that layer, though? He slams on the brakes in the inverted time sequence, and it shouldn't work, right?
What was he inverted when he slammed on the brakes? Hold on. What?
Yeah, because he's in the green car. He's driving the green car now. And so he slams on the brakes with both feet, and that's when his car tumbles in reverse. And I'm like, the brakes shouldn't work. Wouldn't he have to slam on the gas for it to work or something?
Good point. I
Or
don't
he'd
know,
have to have the
there's
brakes
one-
down and take his foot off the brake. Would have to do some inverted action. Like, he literally goes in normal motion to slam on the brakes. That was the one time thing that I noticed that was weird.
Are you talking about the time when he saved the wife in the car and he jumped into the car? To save
No,
her?
it's when he comes back in the teal car and he slams
slammed
on the
on the
brakes and the
brakes?
teal car crashes.
Oh, I did not remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. He did slam on the brakes in that part. I don't know. That's a good point. We should bring on Christopher Nolan onto the show.
Yeah.
and answer that question.
Friend of the show.
Oh my god. So confused.
Yes.
Can't wait to watch it.
To start
And
from
then
the end.
the one weirdest part of this whole movie is that the protagonist the whole time is caring about saving the bad guy's wife. But at the very start of the movie, He literally tries to take the cyanide pill to kill himself because he's so dedicated to the mission. He barely knows her, and he sacrifices everything multiple times to save her, and they do not set it up enough for him to give up on the mission and give up on purpose and his whole identity of self for her.
Yeah, I agree. That was a weak point for me as well. I was like, why do we care so much about her?
Yeah.
I don't know. Unless he just felt bad for her. I don't know. Maybe because she had a kid.
Oh.
We barely meet the kid.
Oh, there
Barely
was a
meet the
scene. There what? Yeah, we never meet him really. I mean, he just like says "mama" or something a few times. I don't know, but there was a line that Robert Pattinson said. He's like, what do you say? Like the bad guy, if he wins, and everyone in this world will die. And she says, "Even my son." And I'm like,
Yes.
were you not listening to the words she just said? What do you think everyone means? Like,
That was the worst dialogue line in the whole movie.
Nolan, come on, you're better.
Even my son.
Like, she was doing a pretty good job acting, but to deliver that line, there's nothing you can do.
No, you can't save that line. That was a bad written line. That has nothing to do with the acting. It was all about who wrote it, and Christopher Nolan wrote the script, so it's all on him. So, Razzie Award to him for worst line of dialogue in a movie in a long time. Anyways, just had to point that out.
Yep. And then speaking of dialogue, shout out to Twin Peaks, because then we have the fun Twin Peaks sequence where the bad guy is saying everything in reverse, and audience is left like, I don't know what's going on. There's like 5 people talking at once because there's 2 different people in time talking. It's great.
Talking in reverse and forward.
At the same time.
At the same time. With
but
the
they're
mask
wearing masks. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. They do have masks.
Just
It's
like
completely
in
muffled.
Velvet, which is also David Lynch. So, and they had the red light, just like the Black Lodge has the red. Yeah,
So
it's very Lynchian.
This was another thing that through research I found out was the red and blue. There's a lot of red and blue.
Yeah.
And the red is forward in time and the blue is backward in time.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys happen to notice any of this stuff?
I noticed it, but I didn't notice it telling the difference between the 2 times because they do use it in the later scenes to differentiate between the 2 different teams. They have 2 different attack teams. One that's going normal, like through time normally, and they have one team that is inverted. So that's how they are able to differentiate the 2 teams. So clever. Okay.
So
I didn't notice it the whole movie though.
Yeah, so I guess that was one of the things that they kept pointing out was keep an eye on colors, because when you see certain colors, and that was the thing that even brought me back to that initial opera orchestra scene, is the bullet that was shot, it was the panel that was shot out, the concrete was blue.
Yes.
And it was reversed.
It was backwards,
yeah.
Which makes sense. Because the blue team were the ones that were inverted in the final scene. So yes. Right. Well
so
done.
it's very
Rob Pattinson's
fascinating.
on the blue team, and John David Washington's on the red team.
Yep.
Oh, paintball, baby.
It looked like paintball.
Very expensive paintball.
Very, very, very,
You
very.
have to invert time. It spices the paint. It's a paintball for rich people. You invert time, and it's a whole thing. That's what Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they go play paintball.
they go up to their moon, their secret moon base.
Oh.
Inverted.
Bill
Paintball.
Gates is the judge.
Yeah.
Well, now they're all single, so.
Wow. Yeah.
Hey, they all can hang out together on their spaceships.
True.
Hey.
Maybe that was the plan all along. Anyway, all right.
One other point that's fun is as this movie kind of brings those talismans back from this first half of it, it's just that fun recognition of the audience where they say, we're going to do the art heist from a week ago, and you're like, he's the masked guy.
Right.
It's just,
I did that.
it's
That's why I
fun.
was doing that meme where Leonardo was pointing at the screen. Like, there, yeah, that scene. Like when she dives off the boat, I'm like,
Yeah.
it was her.
She's the one diving off the boat.
And then I go, wait, does that mean their plan didn't work? Hold on, I'm so confused. Yeah. But the reason why I actually posted that gif of Leonardo DiCaprio is because they finally said the line I was waiting for them to say the whole movie, and they say at the very end is what happened. The Daniel Faraday line from Lost. They have to say it like in every time you want me type of show. What happened? You can't change it, man. Yeah. What happened?
No. Another thing that I've never watched.
And anyway, just had to point
And then
that out.
we have, speaking of Faraday, we have fun paradox discussions because that's the thing. Like, as they're talking, when he said grandfather paradox, all I could think of was the ship of Theseus paradox with the two visions talking to each other. As he's going on and on, I'm like, Vision should just show up and explain the damn grandfather paradox.
It's like, let me take over.
And here's White Vision again,
White
folks.
Vision.
Welcome to the Secondary Heroes, where we mention White Vision coming into all of our shows and movies.
He should be in everything.
He really should. That'd be a lot of fun. Just have him inserted into all the different movies and TV shows.
He would be like the director commentary. He just comes in. So here,
here, guys, this is why this is happening to you. Let me explain. So,
Let me explain this paradox.
exactly.
and it's funny because Robert Pattinson brings up grandfather paradox, and John David Washington's like, "Well, what's that mean?" And he's like, "Well, it's a paradox.
What?
It doesn't have an answer."
No, he does.
What? It does. The grandfather paradox totally has an answer.
What's the answer?
paradox?
Well, the paradox is
Have an answer.
if I went back in time, or if someone went back in time and you meet your grandfather, and you meet your grandfather before he meets your grandmother or anything like that, you just now created a paradox, or you go back in time and you fall in love with your grandmother or something like that.
What you do is you go back in time and you kill your grandfather. So if you kill your grandfather, do you ever
then you don't
exist?
then you don't exist, because
Do you? That's the paradox.
Do you? That's
That's
the
the
paradox,
paradox.
Alex.
Because
No
whatever
answer.
happened. So your grandfather already gave birth to your parents, and that spawned you. So
At
it
one
already
point,
happened.
right,
You can't remove that ever happening. It happened, and that's why you exist, to go back and kill him.
You
Well,
should
and
watch
that's-
Dark, Alex.
That's the
Yes,
hard
Dark is
part
fun.
about.
Because they tried to undo things and they can't. It can't happen. Can't do it.
Whatever happened.
Well, and so same. This all is very similar to Time Traveler's Wife. The book's great. Read the book. It's pretty much deals with this
Don't
type of
watch
stuff.
the
Where
movie.
because don't watch the movie because it's not as good as the book. But he tries to prevent his mother from getting into a car accident, and he goes back in time and he tries every time, and it never succeeds. And
Spoiler.
well,
Spoiler.
I mean,
Jeez.
that's
It
just
was
a little
joking,
part
okay?
of the book. Very little part of the book. I mean, the book is massive, and that's just a tiny,
That's what
tiny
she
chapter.
said.
So, yeah,
That doesn't make any sense, Prague.
I
Why
don't
would
know.
you say the book is massive?
I don't know.
What are
No.
we doing in bed?
Reading big books.
It's reading the dictionary.
Read a dictionary. All right, let's continue on.
Yep.
Find something there.
It's a family show. I'm sure there's little children listening to us talk about Tenet.
Yes,
So.
it's a very family-friendly film.
Oh. Grandfather paradox. We just explained it kind of whenever I mixed it up with dating your grandmother somehow.
Yeah, if we came back to the future,
Fun.
That's what it was. I was thinking back to okay, never mind. Let's move on.
And so they have to follow up with another paradox where they leave us with know the difference between consciousness and multiple realities. Don't throw that at me in this movie that's not based on that, okay? That's some deep stuff.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I'm like, I totally tripped out. I'm like, I had to pause the movie. I'm like, now I'm gonna be thinking about this the rest of the day. Thanks.
Hold
It's
on.
like, what are you
It
doing?
wasn't relevant to this film.
Was it?
Because then they talk about God and if God exists and the consciousness. I'm like, stop. We don't need this.
Sorry, what was this paradox called?
I didn't write it down.
Okay. Okay, never mind then.
It was the second paradox they discussed, though.
Oh yeah. But
Okay.
the whole idea is the consciousness. Would you be conscious of the fact that there's another parallel universe? You can't. There's no way to know that there is. You'll never know.
So that's funny. I actually just recently read a book about a guy who's trying to invent time travel. I actually thought that it was a science fiction book, and it was called The Time Traveler or Time Traveler. And I'm reading through it, and I'm like, man, this is a lot of sciencey stuff. Like, I can't wrap my head around. I zone out through the equations that he's coming up with, and I'm like, okay.
That's this movie at times.
And then it's like the last couple pages, and I'm like, is this guy ever going to go back in time? It turns out it was all a book. This guy who's actually trying to figure out time travel to go back in. And I'm like, wait, all these theories.
So you got rickrolled?
So I'm like, oh my god, my brain hurts now. So he does talk about a paradox where if you like let's just you go, okay, either gonna have a hot dog or a hamburger, and you decide, okay, I'm gonna have the hamburger, but in another universe or another paradox, you eat the hot dog, and then your life continues on a different path from that point. So you either choose, you know what I mean? So I didn't know if maybe that was the paradox that you were talking about a second ago.
I had no idea because I tuned out during that speech that he gave. I was just like, what?
But it does kind of answer the question, not answer the question, but it does kind of open up the thought of multiple universes, because yeah, you've got your hot dog and you've got your hamburger, multiple universes. If I choose this one, there's another universe where I actually went the other way. So
right.
I think that's very
concept.
It's so fun to think of.
I think the reason why they do bring that up is my guess is that they don't want them to screw things up when the two teams have to meet in the battlefield together. That's why they purposely hide the directives from both teams. It's like there must be something to that. I'm gonna have to rethink about that scene because that scene really messed with my head. It was fantastic in like the best way, but it messed with my head.
Because it's the idea of there's a yellow light and you stop at the light or you go through that yellow light, your whole day changes.
Right, exactly. Well, and who knows? You go through that yellow light and a car runs a red light and smashes into you. Or you stop at that yellow light and a car behind you smashes into you. Yeah, so there's always going to be a paradox, but it could always end up the same direction. And it's very fascinating stuff.
I do wonder, Trevor, since you watched the movie, if that little pendant that we see is his like little I don't know, the spinning top, you know, from
Inception.
I wonder if that's what it is, because I don't think he should have been able to see that. I think that kind of clued him into what he wasn't supposed to know, which ended up saving the movie, right? They win. But I wonder if maybe they don't win if he keeps doing stuff that, I don't know. Maybe I'm bringing in too much into that. But
no, I can see that.
First thought. That was my first thought when I saw that. I'm like, he's not supposed to see that.
Because he sees it way at the start of the movie. At the orchestra thing. Like, it doesn't mean anything to you when you see it then. And then when you see it in the corridor, you see it because you're like, oh, I know who this belongs to. And then they beat you over the head at the end of the movie and they say, yes, this is who it belongs to. I don't think they had to do that.
Right.
That would have made it more of a spinning top thing, but...
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to point that out because that was really interesting to me. That felt like a Nolan-esque thing to do.
But then tying back to Inception or Interstellar, the reason you guys talked about the dust crops, it actually ties into this movie with the future scientists. The reason they're inverting things and sending things back is because we screwed up everything so terribly for them. They hate our generation because we ruined everything.
Yes. So they want to reverse time and have us.
They're like, why do our future generations hate us so much? And it's like, you left the world on fire. The oceans have all overflown and they can't even live there. So they had to devise a way to go back and kill you.
It's kind of nuts. I was like,
but then again, that turns again to the grandfather paradox. Because if you destroy the world and you destroy everybody in it, you don't exist at the end of the day.
Unless it's a Twilight reality.
Unless
it's a parallel universe.
Yeah, parallel universe.
Or the future ones are taking the gamble that it's so terrible as is. Non-existence is better than dealing with what we have. So we're just going to take that gamble.
Yep.
Oh, I love this. I really wish I would have watched it because I think I would have really done
I think you'll enjoy this movie. It's a worthwhile watch.
There's a lot to go over in the movie. And so you just have to enjoy the action sequences, miss half of all the words in the entire movie, and then try to watch it again with subtitles. With a better understanding of what to look for at the beginning of the film.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is the first time I've had to rewind a movie a few times. I'm like, wait, what did you say? And then
there's one where I was like, I know ... I've tried twice to hear what they said. I don't know what they said. So
well, even if you were to put subtitles, how would you go?
That's only like 3 sequences.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear their normal speak forward sequences. And then, so Prague, I know you saw the movie, and there's this sequence where they're sitting on the spinning blade, the wind farm in the ocean, and they're sitting like in the deck, and they're having a whole conversation about the future. In the background, did you notice that time is skipping?
Oh no, I didn't. I was
there's
looking
like a
for stuff like
pole
that too.
in the background, and while she's talking, it goes and it freezes, and then it goes back this way. And so I don't know if that's the inversion, like the very inversion point between the two time periods, or if the record was skipping. That was the one kind of like time thing that I noticed that was subtle in the movie versus everything that was so overt.
All right.
Oh,
No, I
that's
didn't notice
cool.
that. Yes,
Because all
very
three of
much.
them are talking, and they're not talking about much in that sequence. So my mind is just drifting to the
Of
background.
course. It's like, all right.
Because it was
So I did
weird.
a
My
lot,
eyes
too.
caught it because it was like the frame loses. You know, like when they change the frame.
Right.
I don't know if it
He does
rewinds
that
or they
stuff
take
on
a frame
purpose.
out.
He's not gonna.
Yeah.
He's not gonna make an edit like that.
No, I
By
know.
happenstance. So,
And I just
all
don't
right.
know what the meaning of it is. I don't know if it's to say
Oh, there's
that
a
time
meaning
is
though.
skipping, or this is actually the inversion point between the two time periods. Like this is the actual thing that it forks out of.
That's kind of cool. I did have one question.
Yeah.
I did learn that I learned a lot of spoilers today about this. So do you guys know who Robert Pattinson is?
What do you mean?
After that you watch the movie at it all the way to the
Yeah,
end.
they finally tell us. kind
Oh,
of
they
what
do.
it's about.
They do tell you. Okay, so it's not like it's something where you got to kind of think about.
No, that was the one thing that was weird. They didn't really have the ambiguity in this one.
Right.
Okay.
It was all pretty much they told you everything, which was
Okay.
kind of nice.
They
too.
save the day, and they say exactly how they save the day, and they explain exactly how the time periods are working.
Yeah.
So
It was fine. It worked. It worked for me. I actually was like, wow, I actually care about this character now. Like, all right, like, because you don't really know much about him throughout the movie, and then once he tells you what's up, it's like, oh, what? You've known him the whole time? What? And you haven't had a chance to know him yet? Oh my god.
because he's the son of the bad guy's wife, right?
Oh, is he? That I
Yeah.
did not get.
Yeah, he's the little boy at the beginning of the movie.
What? Hold on.
Yeah.
Stop the film.
Robert Pattinson's the little boy at the beginning of the movie.
That's why he cares so much about him, huh? Oh my god. What?
They don't explain that. I knew that's
they
what you were
don't.
gonna say,
They
but they don't
don't.
explain that.
No.
Yeah, that was one thing that everything
how?
that I watched,
Hold
everything
on,
that I
that's-
watched and listened to, they beat that over my head was Robert Pattinson's the little boy.
Is he, or is that a fan theory?
I feel like that's a fan
No,
theory.
Because they want him to be, because that's just too convenient for the story, from my perspective.
Right.
I couldn't tell you if it's a fan theory or not because I haven't seen the movie. So, I mean, you guys can kind of get more of a gauge on this than I can. And actually, hey, fans at home, if you know anything about this, please comment on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of it, because we want to hear what you have to say about this type of stuff too. What was your favorite scenes?
Yeah, but also tell us, do you think the boy is Robert Pattinson? But
I think I like that. I think I like it just because it was beaten over my head. I'm like,
it's just too
okay,
easy for me. If he's the actual son, it would be like Leonardo DiCaprio seeing the top fall.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's what it would be like. If you lose all that ambiguity, it wouldn't make sense either.
But you've already said that Christopher Nolan kind of lost the ambiguity. Please say that word.
Ambiguity.
Thank
you have to change the pronunciation point.
Oh God.
No, but because essentially Robert Pattinson, it would be 12 in the timeline we know. So he would have to go back inverted from 20 years, work his way all the way back to this point.
And he ages up as you go backwards. That's
right. But then he does say that I know you for a long time. So, but it doesn't seem like John David Washington's going to be with the ex-wife and the son going forward. It doesn't seem like they have any connection or relationship because he ends up helping her, but she's not even aware that he did.
Man, yeah, I need to watch it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about the bomb going off versus the bomb not going off thing that they talk about. But what if the bomb doesn't go off? What does it impact? What do you know?
So the little boy, tell us in the comments.
I do, you know, I don't
The
know.
little
That
boy does
seems
not have a
weird.
speaking line in the film.
Yeah, so it'd be weird if he were to be him. Like, I think it's better if they just became friends over time, and he just finds out at the end of the movie that they have been friends for so many years. Like that blew my mind. Like that was rad. I don't need him to be
Because
the boy.
at the opera, we're specifically given the little chain, but we don't see the little boy have the chain. If that was the
Right.
case,
Right.
then
Well, that's almost like smacking you in the face right there. Because
well,
if you
but
see the little boy
everything
with
in
the
the
chain,
boy, they did smack us in the face. Robert Pattinson doesn't need to have it hanging on his backpack when he goes to the helicopter to leave.
Exactly.
So they already smacked us on the face with it. There's no incentive for him to be the little boy.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I agree with.
no,
the
I'm
director's
very interested though.
incentive.
It's probably like the
Has
fan
nothing-
theory where they say all Winnie the Pooh characters are tied to emotions or
Right.
different
There you go.
psychological disorders.
People who
It
read
starts
something.
off as like some rumor, and then people are like, "Oh, that's fact."
Yeah, I like the basic theory better than the convoluted theory. I like the idea that Robert Pattinson has known him all that time, and that, yeah, the protagonist had not known him yet. You
And
know?
Robert Pattinson is conveniently a physicist.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it does incentivize Robert Pattinson's character to know that his dad is evil and is going to destroy everything, and so it incentivizes him from 12 years old to want to do that. But again, he'd have to start at like 2040 and work his way because his dad's killed right then and there, and say it's 2020. His
Right.
dad gets killed, and he's not aware how evil his dad is in 2020. His dad was always kind to him. He never showed him that he was inverting things and trying to blow up the whole world and anything
Right, he's
like
not
that.
like in on this operation. It's not
Yeah,
like
he doesn't
Wow.
sneak into a room or anything. He has no reason to hate him unless
Right.
the mom says, "Oh, hate him," and then, "Oh, I'm going to devote my life to going back in time and stopping him."
Yeah, I don't know.
And he wouldn't even need to go back in time to stop him because he would know that he wasn't successful. He would never have an incentive.
I buy the theory.
Yeah, there'd be no
Okay.
incentive because
Well,
the
you're not
wife
wrong. I
kills
mean-
him.
He does have the accent. He does have the accent in the movie. And the only people that have the accents are them.
No, I just
the
think
mother
it's
and
too easy storytelling.
It is too easy. I
Oh,
don't know.
everything's connected. And John David Washington's actually his dad too, and he's actually light-skinned. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
how
I'm not
it
too sure I like this
sounds.
theory.
I thought it was a fun theory.
Oh,
I
it's
thought
fun.
it
It's
was
fun.
Fun to think about. I just don't like it. I don't like it.
I think it just
Take it back.
ruins the connection that
It
they
does.
have. Because instead of like a bonding over like a friendship, they literally bond because you saved my mom.
Yeah, I don't like that idea either.
That's just a weak bond.
Yep, I agree. They should become like, like a band of brothers. Like that's their bond. That's what
Yeah.
I felt. That's the emotion I felt. And I don't like that emotion being taken away from me by having him be the son. That would cheapen it to me. Just saying.
Wow.
I don't know.
Nice. This was
I like you brought that to us though. That was fun.
No, I think that this was a cool discussion. I like hearing what you guys actually felt about that theory, and I mean,
It's interesting.
you could definitely see Prague going through a whole lot of emotions trying to figure out does it make sense or not. So I thought that was very cool. Cool.
Maybe when I watch it again, I'll look for it. But
yeah.
All right.
Now I want to watch it, and now I'm gonna like dissect it. So like I'm gonna be like, ooh, I gotta look at every detail in the back.
you have to pay too much attention. It's
Well,
exhausting.
I want to see something in the background that nobody else sees, where something all of a sudden starts going backwards or something like that, just for no reason.
Right.
Yeah. And so before we end, I do just want to mention a couple end points when they're playing paintball. When both the timers, so they have 10 minutes. The blue and the red team both have 10 minutes, but they're going in opposite points. So when they both get to 5 minutes, they literally blow the building up at the same time. One goes to the bottom, and one goes to the top, and it reverses from being exploded to being exploded at different angles. And that is just amazing.
That was a great moment, dude. I'm like, what is he doing? Is he gonna blow that? Like, is he inverting the blow? Like, what's happening here? And then it happens. Like, oh my god. I don't know how a person's brain works that way, but
so
Christopher Nolan
weird.
does.
And then at the end, we didn't see any enemies. Part of me I was going to be like, are the blue team and the red team shooting at each other?
That's what I
thought the twist was going to be.
Right? That's what I thought it was too.
Because we still didn't see any enemies the whole time. We saw that one guy who works for Kenneth Branagh down in the mine shaft. That's all we ever saw as an enemy.
No. No, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I was confused about that. So.
Gotta have an expression of faith in the mechanics of the world.
I can't. Yeah. That's what they said.
I'll take your word for it.
Right?
So
okay,
that's Tenet.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Prague?
I will say that the paintball scene was like the most tense I've been like watching a movie in a long time. Like probably since the Last Jedi. Where like I didn't know if she was gonna turn bad or good. Like I had this like tense like moment where I was kind of like confused of like what direction they're gonna go, and I had that kind of same feeling during that scene. But I think it was more to do with also like I didn't know what was gonna happen, but I also didn't know what was happening. I was like, what team is doing what and how and why? And then, oh my God, are they gonna stop the bomb or not? And then what's gonna happen? Because it's a Christopher Nolan film, it could blow everybody up and have it be some kind of weird alternate reality. I did no idea. So. It was tense. It was a really well-paced, edited final half an hour of filmmaking. So, for that alone, it's worth watching.
So, out of 1 to 5 spinning tops, what would you guys give this? 5 being the best, 1 being the worst.
I know how that works, yeah.
Well, I could have said you're number 1. Yeah, number 1's the best. I could have gone backwards in reverse or inverse it.
I would say for me, it's a 4. I would say in terms of filmmaking, it's probably like 4.5, close to 5. But I would say that it's brought down by the dialogue sequencing and just unnecessary parts that they could cut out. But the action sequences, I would say, with 5. The camera work, the cinematography, all those aspects of filmmaking are as good as you're going to get. But just the other parts drag down the score.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same. I'm gonna say 4, like a solid 4.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that would drag it down for me is just a comparison to his other films, if anything. That's it.
He set his own bar pretty high.
He did. He set his own bar pretty high, and it's gonna be tough. A lot of filmmakers do that. I mean, a lot of the great filmmakers have done that in their time. You know, when they're younger, they're more ambitious sometimes, and they'll make great films, and it's hard to catch up. But still a great filmmaker. So I'm excited to see what's next from him.
I'm going to give it a 5 off of you guys' explanation. Nice. There was no bloated dialogue throughout this whole conversation. So, 5.
And also, from our perspective, Prague and I are pretty tough. So,
true.
A 4 from us is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah. I was not expecting to like this movie, if I were going to be honest, because I was hearing so much weird stuff about it. Like, people were like either weirded out by it or confused, or there's always memes about like, oh, it's too confusing for me. I'm like, oh, am I not going to like this movie? So I was surprised. I liked it. So
there is a lot though. If you're not into like heavy science concepts, there's a lot to get through.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Or mind.
Well, I'll still give it a whirl.
Okay.
Cool.
So, Tenet, it's on HBO Max. If you don't have a subscription, yeah, I don't blame you. It comes with HBO Max.
Do the free.
And to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed episode 100, Monday, May 17th, 7 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/Secondary Heroes. And we'll talk to you next time.
Warp Tau.
Adios, y'all.